Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force, a mostly Puerto Rican podcast. I am your host, Goose, and with me is joining me.
I am Nad.
And here we are to another day to talk about Star Wars and maybe other nerd-related media. We'll see how it goes. It was an eventful morning this morning that we're recording today on Sunday. At least for me, I don't know about you, Nad, but I got some interesting news to my phone as I was perusing when I woke up oddly early this morning, and I saw that Lindsey Graham is dearly departed.
It's like, are we going to talk about it?
Not
Yeah,
the departure that I was expecting to have confirmed,
No,
but maybe the one we needed.
I know. It's always hard to lose a member of the LGBT community.
Allegedly. We don't want to get sued here. That might be considered slander.
Allegedly.
An avid Disney goer.
Really?
Yes. Well, I don't know about avid, but he would frequent the parks.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
wait, do you remember when JD Vance went to Disney with his family and everyone like booed?
If there are a lot of people that deserve to be booed, and JD Vance, one of them.
It's really satisfying to watch JD Vance get bullied. As someone who was bullied as a child, I know that bullying isn't necessarily good, but I think it's good sometimes, and I think for JD Vance it's good.
I think when you're evil, I think it's fine. It's it's kind of the best outcome for an evil person to only get bullied.
Yeah, I know. As we were talking about before we started the podcast, I mean, the guillotine is is probably the worst end of it. So getting booed,
probably,
or the oubliette.
Which I just learned about. I did not know about that. Very philosophical and existential.
Very French, very
torture.
French.
Yes, a way that only the French, which, America 250 anniversary, we have to give credit to the French. I know that people like to use them as a punching bag, especially now with the World Cup, but they helped out thanks to their blockade. So
thank you.
That's all I have to say about that.
Big ups to the French. Big ups to the French.
Not big, but kudos. They still did unspeakable things.
Ups to the French.
They did unspeakable things, so we're not gonna let them out the hook for everything. But they made crepes. They made good wine, baguettes.
Yeah,
baguettes. I'm very upset that they have that Arc de Triomphe now, because it inspired horrible things over yonder.
Listen. We can't blame the French for being inspiring, okay?
Just inspiring the wrong things and the wrong people.
We were, talking about what to do for our theme today. Speaking of the French, speaking of philosophers, speaking of big thoughts, enlightenment even. And I said, what's sort of like the modern day forum, the modern day place where so much big philosophy is shared? Reddit.
Reddit, yes, the number one source for all AI. Yes.
Unfortunately, yes.
Or fortunately, there's some good stuff.
Or fortunately, because as I told you about, there's an entire subreddit called Poison AI, which
which
puts itself out as a genuine subreddit. So it's supposed to be like, I forget what the tag is. It's like, for all of your like world news or something like that. And then people just make up fake news articles and it poisons AI. It's really funny, actually.
I hope that this Lindsey Graham news isn't from there.
Hopefully not.
Well,
either way.
Trump, well, I don't want to say the T word, so I won't.
Trump?
Yeah. What other T word? I mean, there's a lot of T words in the dictionary, but that's the only one with a negative connotation, at least in our side of the political aisle, I guess. There's another one on the other side of the political aisle, I guess.
Yeah, I get called it a lot online.
I'm not gonna bother.
I don't know if we're thinking about this. We'll talk about this later.
Well, yeah, this cannot be said. Yeah.
So, I was in charge of coming up with a theme this week. Actually.
You were, and I totally forgot about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was given the reins, so everybody gets scared. Everyone gets scared and ready. The theme this week,
a lot of uncomfortableness. on
Yeah.
my side. Yeah, yeah,
Goose is scared because all of this is a
yeah.
surprise. He doesn't know at all what. Well, he knows the theme. He just doesn't know what I'm about to present to him. So the
Yes.
theme this week, as some of you may know if you follow me on Instagram, was Star Wars hot takes. And when I say hot takes, I don't just mean like, oh, Han shot first, you know? I mean like actual diabolical, could get you thrown out of a Star Wars party hot takes. You know, like I want you to feel a little bit ashamed of what you have brought to the forum on this. And so I found a few on Reddit to kind of get the ball rolling. And
Jesus.
then I also have many that I have sourced from you, lovely listeners. And then, you know, who knows, maybe even Goose and I will share some crazy hot takes if we're feeling like it, if we're feeling a little bit, you know,
I don't know that I
wild
have
on
any.
this
I don't know that I
Sunday.
have any hot take. I don't even know that I have lukewarm
I
ones.
always feel like, you know, I feel like my takes are not that hot, and then apparently a lot of fanboys disagree with me. So.
Well, you have some stuff going against you in that department. It's not the take itself, I think. You
It's
know,
just it's the messenger.
I think it's the I don't want to burst your bubble if that's if there was any question about why there might be vitriol for a take,
Why,
but
Goose?
you know, I'm not a therapist. I'm not an anthropologist by any means, but it's the vessel.
Yeah.
It's
You
not.
know
It's
what?
not. It's
Jesus
not.
was also
It's not the
prosecuted.
message. It's the vessel. Jesus,
All
notoriously
right.
gay. Did you know that?
Jesus, notoriously gay.
I did go
Jesus,
to Catholic school, so I
notoriously
can say
a
that. And
vibe.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Was he a vibe? I
So
mean, he did turn water into wine. That's a pretty good vibe.
yeah, he was, and he like hung out with sex workers too. Mary
He did. He did.
Magdalene.
He
He
did.
was, yeah,
Into
very
feet,
punk rock of Jesus.
into foot stuff because he was washing those feet everywhere, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
damn. Can you
Jesus was
imagine
into foot stuff.
feet back then? Must have been
Feet back
gnarly.
then must have been crazy, especially because like you couldn't have had that clean of water either. So it was
No,
just
no.
everything was wild.
So good. I
Should we
mean,
talk about Star Wars, or do you want to keep talking about feet?
I don't want to talk about Jesus's feet. No,
Other people's feet?
not in this, not in this forum.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about it later. Okay, Goose. Would you like what type of hot take would you like me to hit you with first? Do you want one that is more oriented around like the idea of how Star Wars has impacted perhaps the world as a whole, of how the whole of Star Wars has impacted us in the world, or would you like ones that are maybe more specific to Star Wars movies themselves? What kind of hot take can I serve you this morning, this Sunday
That's an
morning?
interesting menu of items because usually when I think of hot takes, I just think
Mm-hmm.
of, and if you're not one of these people that I'm about to talk about, I think I apologize, but I just think of like Instagram dudes that are interviewing people and just asking for a hot take, and it's always like a milk toast take on
Yeah,
Star Wars lore. I'm just like, is this what we're doing? But I
the
guess we're
amount.
doing that today, kind of, because I'm a straight male talking about hot takes, apparently. So
It's
we're
okay.
doing
I've
it.
balanced this out by being a gay they them, so you know the vibes are well balanced.
I hope so. I hope that the Bendu shows up and says that everything's kosher.
The Bendu, also a little bit gay in my opinion.
It is kind of a gay name.
It is. It
Little
is. Also,
Bendu,
I
little
thought that
Bent.
when I first
Just a
heard
little
him start
sassy.
talking, I thought it was Patrick Stewart voicing him, which I
Oh,
guess
it's a
Patrick
different
Stewart
British guy.
is not
Different British
gay.
guy. Patrick
Yeah.
Stewart is not gay, but he has a
But he's best
fabulous
friends
gay
with Ian
friend.
McKellen.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Anyways, so you know what? I'm gonna start you with a topic that you and I have talked about before, actually, on this
Uh-oh.
podcast, which is the idea of who is Star Wars aimed at, and because
Oh,
of
yeah.
that, what should we expect of Star Wars?
Of
So
course.
these were on, I think, the same subreddit, which was asking for people's hot takes on Star Wars, and it was interesting because they are two opposing ones. So the first one is Star Wars has always been aimed for young kids. It didn't change, parentheses, prequels, sequels, etc. It's always been silly sci-fi goofiness about space wizards and simple good versus evil dynamics, which is part of the reason it's great and always was. Some people lost their joy and wonder. And then the opposing take to that, which I
Mm-hmm,
also
mm-hmm,
saw in
mm-hmm.
this, is in quotes, it's made for kids, therefore it doesn't need to be good and you can't criticize it.
That's not a hot take. That's a dumb
I
take.
no, I know. And they said, and they were saying, I hate that take. It shouldn't get, like, we shouldn't not criticize it, even if we think it's made for kids.
Yeah.
And so these are the sort of two opposing camps. I personally think the idea that Star Wars has always been aimed at young kids
Yeah.
is wrong.
Oh,
I don't
interesting.
think that. I don't think that Star Wars has always been aimed at young kids.
Well,
I think that
that goes against the maker's words themselves.
yeah, I guess. But like I think that well, it's aimed at young kids, but I think that it has always attracted adults.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that there's this odd misconception that like, oh, it's so childlike to like Star Wars when it's like adults have always been nerdy as hell.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Star
yeah,
Wars
yeah.
now has branched out into both catering to adults and younger audiences, and I think that that is a good move,
You know,
frankly.
I think it's interesting because I mean, I said the what George Lucas said as if it were canon, and many people just take George Lucas at his word. I myself do not because and hear me out because and this is not a hot take. This is just absolutely true. George Lucas is notoriously an unreliable narrator. You know, you will see things that he said in the 80s and then he'll just contradict himself in the 90s and then revisit and revise his own words in the 2000s. And the man flip-flops so much, and you know, God bless him, God love him. Thankfully, like we've said here in the past, he hasn't said anything egregious for a billionaire that we will need to fingers crossed, baby.
White old man billionaire.
Yeah. Woo! There's still
We
time,
love
but
it.
for now he's safe. But you know, he says things that I think there's always elements of truth to like what he's saying, but I feel like especially in his old age, especially with prequel backlash, he has been kind of apologetic to himself and trying to be a little revisionist about things. And he's the one that has always said, oh, not always, that has said that Star Wars is, you know, for children and all these things. And, you know, I think there's an element of truth to that, but I don't think that's absolute either, right? Because Star Wars when it came out, right, the main audience, it was just like everybody. It wasn't
Yeah, no,
wasn't it
that's
wasn't
exactly what I mean.
it wasn't the people going to see whatever the equivalent of Toy Story was when A New Hope came out in '77. That was just watching it. Like everybody and their mother was watching Star Wars. So it has always had like this universal appeal that even if, you know, let's say that George designed Star Wars, and this is a big if, designed Star Wars to be exclusively for children, which, you know, I don't believe that for a second, because if he's talking about Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey and like all these mythic structures for Star Wars, it definitely feels like it's made for a broader appeal instead of like
Mhm.
a narrow one. And if everyone in this binary is not good or bad, you know, because if something like, again, to bring back Toy Story, which was made for children, but it definitely appeals to a much broader audience for how mature of a story it can tell, and it's still here with us now with Toy Story 5, then I think that it doesn't matter if George Lucas made it for uh, children, because now like everyone finds the appeal for it, and that doesn't mean that now it has to be reductive also, you know, because
Mhm.
that's why I think Andor succeeds and
Yeah.
the prequel succeeded, or any other Star Wars media succeeds, because it appeals to just different audiences. And I think that something as big as Star Wars needs that, regardless of
Mhm.
who it might have been originally intended for. So,
Yeah.
not sorry if that's not a hot take. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. We're
For
not.
my
You
part, for my
don't
part, I mean.
necessarily need to be giving the hot takes here.
I
I'm
see, I
starting us
see.
with hot takes that I've gathered from, or at least what people believe to be hot takes.
I think
And I
it's a hot
personally,
take to say that because
it,
it's for kids, we can't criticize it. And I was like, that's
yeah,
dumb.
yeah. No, I
That's
know. And like I especially with this like first one that I wrote, that like, oh, Star Wars has always been aimed at kids and it's like silly and people have just lost their sense of whimsy. I feel like that is such an apologetic stance to
yeah.
take, which is something that you and I and Nani have talked about on this podcast before, like, you know, talking about stuff like the Mandalorian movie, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like people having
Positivity, please.
and other stuff that we have talked about and other stuff. Okay.
Yes.
This shouldn't be our legacy.
No. It feels
But
like it is almost. I don't know.
okay, it's just because since I've been here, we've been talking about it. It like kind of coincided with me starting on the pod, I think, and so it's like, and it's the most recent Star Wars movie to come out. Okay, like sue us if,
For better, for better.
yeah, yeah.
Positivity, see?
Which here's the thing, right? It's like this idea of like, oh, like what, you don't want to have fun anymore. I think that when we aren't thinking of things critically, we just get a little bit closer to
Mhm.
fascism every time we stop doing critical thinking. And I think the idea that you specifically shouldn't think about things that are made for children critically is insane. Because like even if Star Wars was only being watched by kids, which we know it's not, it has never been only like fanned by kids, you know, we should still be like critically thinking about what we're giving to kids to watch,
Yeah,
because those
yeah,
kids
yeah.
are going to be creating the world that we live in. And like to your point too, of course George Lucas has changed what he thinks about it a million times. It's been 50 years of it. Like I think that people, has it been 50
50.
years?
It is. I
Yeah,
mean,
dude.
next year it'll be 50. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That
And
hurt my
like
soul.
people like defer so much to George Lucas, I think, to like, you know, give their points weight a lot of the time.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
I do it too. I do it too, but like it also is this thing that like Star Wars, anything that you put out, it goes beyond you the minute that other people get it, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And it, like Star Wars, for example, like George Lucas could say all day that, you know, oh well, it's just supposed to be for kids, it's not supposed to be serious or whatever, but like unfortunately that's just not how it's been received and how it makes money and how it continues to like be a thing. And so I think that like especially this take, which we see a lot of, like, well, it's just this silly movie, it's just a
Mhm.
silly movie, why are you guys so lame about it, is like so narrow-minded and like
Well,
willfully ignorant, I would say.
it's something that we have talked about when we were talking about films that shall remain nameless. It's, I think, this overcorrection in fandom of how
Yeah.
we engage positively with it, right? And I think that a
Hmm.
lot of it is a reaction to, you know, the Acolyte or the Last Jedi or so many other or Supergirl, right? Or all of these like
Yeah.
projects that have been dog piled on by nefarious sides of nerd fandom that are just are negative in bad faith to a lot of these
Hmm.
projects, that I feel like people have just like then overcorrected to be like, well, no, because we're a positive fandom, and to be a positive fan means that we're, you know, we shouldn't like criticize it because it's, you know, it's supposed to be, you know, we, and then insert argument right in that
Yeah.
moment where it just
And
becomes
like
apologetic, and
that,
I'm like, I don't like apologetics in anything.
yeah, exactly. And I think that like we do a disservice to any media when we receive it uncritically, frankly.
Yeah.
Like I like as someone, you know, we create media, we're creating media right now, and also like me personally as someone who's like an artist and stuff like that. I would never want people to just blindly enjoy the stuff I make. Like that's not why we make stuff. That's not why artists make stuff. That's why production companies make stuff, because it's a capitalist thing and they're trying to make
Yeah.
money, and so they want you to blindly like it or maybe hate it enough to talk about it and see it. But like the idea that like, oh, but you're being so mean, or like, well, like, you know, we should just be happy to be getting any Star Wars. Like, no,
I mean,
that's not how we should be interacting with
I mean,
the
it's
with
balanced. Like I
things.
am. It's one of those things where, like, yes, I am happy that we have
Me
Star
too.
Wars and new Star Wars, when, because I lived through the dark times when we didn't have Star Wars for 10 years between the uh,
I know.
prequels and the sequels and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, we can be happy that we have it, but be like, hey, that was mid, and that's
Exactly.
fine.
Both things can be true. Both things can be
Both
true,
things
you
can be
know?
true. Yes.
Is that
Look,
like, yes,
look at us being
it can be made for kids.
nuanced and mature.
We're so crazy for that.
Yeah.
Nuanced takes online in this age. Yeah, I think that both things can be true. It can be made for kids. We can be happy to be getting it, and also we can be critical of it and aware that like, no, it's not just kids watching it, and we can be critical of even children's media.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it can be. we can have that.
Yes. Oh my God.
Are you checking on the 3D printer?
Yes, I was checking the 3D printer. So for context, for anyone listening, that sound was me being terrified that 3D print that we have going on here almost failed. But alas, it did not fail. It's okay. It's just a fan of the printer. Everything's fine.
Yeah,
We
it's
can
okay.
continue. We can continue with hot takes.
Goose has something he's sitting on. He's watching.
I'm
All
watching.
right, so
I'm a watcher, but not from Marvel.
since we're talking about hating on movies, hating things and the people who are upset about things, here's a hot take that I think you'll find interesting because you know this to be my favorite of the Star Wars movies and
Rise of
many
Skywalker,
movies.
obviously. Yes.
Why would you say?
Because I'm testing out this positivity thing.
We're just gonna keep moving past what you just said. And this was another hot take I found online. Is this person had a list of their hot takes too. And so this is how I read this. Rogue One is not that great. People only think it is because everyone dies at the end, which makes it, quote, edgy and dark. It's fine, but it's no better than any other Disney era Star Wars movie. Edgy and dark does not make a good movie.
I mean, I don't think that's a hot take. That's just your. I'm gonna
that might just be hot to me.
To quote the dude, from the Big Lebowski. That's like your opinion, man. I don't, and I agree actually that just because something is edgy and dark doesn't make it good. Let's i.e. the Snyderverse.
Yeah.
All those DC EU films were trying to be the anti-Marvel by being edgy, dark, and brooding, they weren't good. I mean, some were, but most of them were not. So I mean, I disagree with that as a justification for Rogue One not being good. I disagree, but I don't disagree with the heart of it. I just disagree with the application.
I agree with the concept that something that being like edgy and dark doesn't make it cool or deep, kind of, which is, I think, funnily enough, an opinion that a lot of a part of fandom and movie enjoyers that I don't really fall into. And so it was funny for me as someone who's like a Rogue One glazer, if you will, to encounter this take about Rogue One.
I'm gonna have to search that parlance there. Go to Urban Dictionary.
I'll teach you about it. I'll tell you about it later.
Yeah, sounds NSFW, but we can continue.
It is. Anyways, but it's so funny because, to me, Rogue One is good because it is genuinely emotionally evocative to me. It makes me very I feel a lot with each of the characters and with the plot of it, and I connect to it a lot personally. And I find that when I watch media that is supposed to just be cool because it's dark and edgy, I don't actually emotionally connect with it because that's just a veneer of emotion, whereas beneath it there's not that much going on. And so I thought that was a really interesting take, also because I always am so intrigued by people hating on Rogue One.
I feel like a lot of people that hate on Rogue One is because everyone else loves it. And it's just well, I can't.
Yeah, it's you're trying to be a contrarian,
Yeah. And I'm sure that there's actual genuine people that don't like it, and that's fine. Or, dislike what you want to dislike, baby. Just keep going. Be a hater. God knows I'm one.
Yeah, we love being a hater here.
I love it so much.
Ethically.
Ethically
hating.
We're like the PETA of haters. We're just ethical.
We're like the PETA of haters. PETA is a horrible organization.
But it was funny. But so
sorry, Goose. That was very funny.
It was funny. So leave me alone. But Rogue One good. Rogue One good. Has good bones. Has solid. It's hopeful, even though it's tragic. It is edgy, but it is. To quote Rogue One itself, it is built on hope. And I think that's the important thing about that film. And it looks stunning. I think that's the most beautiful Star Wars projects ever. It's like that shot of the Star Destroyer coming out of the shadow. And it's that is spectacular,
It's
and
spectacular.
it really moves me. It has a
Hmm.
great cinematography, like great acting. Our boy Tony Gilroy, that's where he started. Making his
It's true.
making his mark, which allegedly was more than, this is tea, but apparently it was more than they let on. Apparently he did much more, but we'll see
Oh,
what happens after a 10th anniversary.
okay.
But yeah, yeah. But I'm not offended. I'm not offended by that
I'm
hot
not
take.
offended by it. I do think it's wrong.
I mean, yeah. I don't know
I
if I
think it's
can.
wrong.
I don't know
I
if I
just think
can.
it's wrong in its analysis, being
Yes,
that
yes, yes. The
I think you're
reduction
totally
is the
yeah,
wrong.
I think that you're totally allowed to dislike Rogue One and not think it's that good and it not be your Star Wars movie. Like as we've said on here, because there is so much Star Wars, everyone has their Star Wars. And I think that's great. I think it's great to have your Star Wars that's your Star Wars that you love. But I think that the disliking Rogue One because it is just quote edgy and
Well,
dark is
I think
not
that's
what it
fine. I think where it's wrong
okay.
is to say that Star Wars shouldn't be that. I'm like,
Interesting. Interesting.
As I'm
Interesting.
like, Star Wars
Okay.
can be whatever the hell it wants, and it should be.
Yeah,
But
I guess I'm
but
just
if it's
like
not your flavor of ice cream, that's fine.
yeah, that's
But
true. That's
don't
true.
but
That's
don't
true.
don't say that your flavor of ice cream is the one that everyone should be eating. That's where I'm at. Call me a radical leftist here. We should
You
all
are such a
be having Ben and Jerry's, any flavor you want.
blue-haired feminist over here, Goose.
One, I did not blue. I did want to do jet black, but
Oh, have you dyed your hair ever?
never, no, because my mom never let me.
Oh yeah, Catholic, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to get like one of those like piercings up in my ear. I don't know what
Oh,
part of the ear it's called.
you were gesturing to like
Well, because
all
I
the
have
way
the
in the back
headphones.
of
Because I have the
in your
headphones.
cartilage,
Is
like
that
the
what
sort
that
of
is? Yeah,
top.
yeah, at the top.
Yeah, just a cartilage piercing.
I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool. My,
Darth
my
Maul
mom,
piercing.
yes, yes, but not. I wasn't inspired by Darth Maul. I was inspired by all the emo and punk bands that I was listening to at the time.
Were you were you
But my
emo, Goose?
it's an interesting question. It's an interesting question because at the time I wouldn't have said yes because all my friends that I was like conversing about music with, that was more of a heavy metal scene, especially
Oh,
classic
interesting.
classic metal, like from 70s, 80s, 90s type of stuff. So emo as a genre was non grata for
Hmm.
for that group. So
Yeah,
there
no,
was a lot
yeah,
of
there is.
there was a lot of shame. There was a lot of shame, even though like now that we have our emo pop punk revival going on for us elder millennials,
Hmm.
I'm looking back and I'm like, yeah, why was I dumb? Yeah, I loved that music then, and I'm loving rediscovering it now. So
Man, it's hard to swim
there we
against the
go.
crowd when you're young, you know?
I guess I know. I guess. I had it pretty good though. I had it pretty good. I can't complain
Yeah.
about my high school experience. I know some people had horrible ones, and mine was good. I went to an all boys school, so
Oh,
I
okay.
was just amongst my bros all the time. So it
Just the
was
boys.
very chill and laid back. So I can't really complain. Can't really complain.
Um, speaking of the boys, uh, there's one boy in
BOIS.
particular. Yeah, the boys. One boy in particular who's very important to the entire Star Wars creation. I don't know. I'm trying to do a good transition here. Here's another hot take I found online, and we can rate these hot takes too. Actually, this was another thing I forgot I wanted to do. I want to rate these hot takes on
Oh
how
shit!
hot we think they actually are.
Now I have to
Um,
get a pencil and
yeah,
write
get your
stuff down.
pencil out, Goose. Get ready. Well, we can rate them as we go. We don't have to like create a ranking list at the
Oh,
end.
I see. I see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll just do this as we go.
Okay.
Um, this is someone says the prophecy of the One, A, added nothing of value to the prequels or Vader's story, and B, was never fulfilled, neither by Vader or Luke or anybody else was the chosen one. Also, both Vader's fall to the dark side and redemption are poorly written and unconvincing.
I have to agree.
Do you agree?
I agree.
Interesting.
I agree.
Okay, okay. Talk to
I
me, walk me through that.
I think looking at the original trilogy in isolation, none of that shit's in there, right? Like it. So it's so I sympathize because we know that this is George's baby, and like we were talking about at the beginning, what he says goes type of thing. But this is another example of revisionism, right? It's one of those
Hmm.
things where George was just like, well, let's make space Jesus. And the reason we should care about Darth Vader is because he is Jesus. But shit, we kind of, I didn't really finish it the way that I probably should have in the other one. So we gotta retcon this in somehow and somehow make it make sense. And God bless the Lucasfilm Story Group and all the authors that bend over backwards to make everything that George Lucas has said make sense, especially
The whims of
Filoni.
George.
Like Filoni, like you are an Olympian somersault artist here, jumping through those hoops to, especially in the Clone Wars, to make it make sense because Jesus Christ, it doesn't, right? Like,
It
think about
doesn't.
it.
No, yeah.
Think about it. Like, it
I
doesn't.
also, because I think I don't really care about this hot take one way or the other, right? I'm like kind of indifferent to it. The reason being that I feel incredibly indifferent to the prophecy of the One in
Mhm.
general, and I feel like the only reason a bunch of fans started caring about the prophecy of the One in
Because
the
of Ray.
first place is because of Rey, so that they could hate on the sequels, and then so that they could hate on the Acolyte
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, there are so many other things to be critical of that you could be like critical of, but instead you're clinging on to what I think we can all agree was a last minute weird decision George just made.
It's, and I accept it, obviously. I grew up with the prequels, even though I saw originals first. But I was a child in 1999 when episode one came out. And I'm like, cool, kids. I'm a kid. I like seeing a kid in here.
I'm a kid.
I'm like, cool.
Just like me.
Exactly like me. I could pod race. No, I
Yeah,
cannot. I cannot drive fast. I mean, actually, no. I'm not gonna talk about my
I
driving
thought you
skills.
were gonna say I cannot drive, and I was like, you know what? You live in a city. You don't have
I
to.
I can. I am licensed to by the state,
Hell yeah.
so that means
Hell
I
yeah.
can. However, it's I don't know. It's so it's just boring. I think this whole like
Yeah,
chosen one mythos thing. I think it would have been like so much stronger if he's just a guy that happens to be like, oh, I get it that it's male wish fulfillment because of centuries of mythology and reading Joseph Campbell. And I mean, I'm not going to use the expression I was going to use, but pleasuring yourself to that book
I would have used it.
and and it's fulfillment, right? It's just like you
Yeah,
project yourself onto that character. But I think that's why Rey, at least to me, was extremely compelling with The Last Jedi because it's like, yeah, you can be a part of the story and the star of it without having to need to be, right? This
yeah,
uh, person that's meant to be that thing. And
yeah.
I think Anakin's and Luke's story would have been just as impactful and just as powerful if Anakin wasn't a chosen one. He was just the guy that they found, and it's just like, hey, let's help
Yeah.
this little guy, and he just ends up being important. So, I
And
get it
I
for the
think
whole
like
mythic aspect, but whatevs.
mhm. I think that like the prophecy itself can be an interesting like plot device, especially like as it goes with like Qui-Gon's character, for example, being like so dedicated to the idea of the prophecy and stuff like that. But I don't think that it has to be like, oh, well, it has to happen because it's a prophecy that they made up. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't think that we need to stick to it. And I think it's more interesting. I think one of the things that make prophecies interesting in mythos in general is what impact they have
Hmm,
because of
hmm.
they exist, is like it's not the fact that the prophecy is getting fulfilled, it's what human beings and people do in response to the idea of like,
Yeah,
oh, okay,
yeah,
my
yeah.
fate has been decided. And so I think it's interesting for that reason, but I think that over time it has become so overly relied upon as
Hmm.
like this thing that the fandom worships as if it was like this amazing plot device when
Yeah.
in reality it was just kind of like mid.
I mean, fair.
And I think that
I'm not gonna plunge into that water because I'm a little more scared, and maybe the water's cold, and I don't like cold
I'm
water,
fearless.
so I'm not going to, and I'm fully dressed, so I'm not gonna get my shirt wet. But so I'm not gonna plunge there. But I see, and I
Thank you, Goose.
sympathize
I
with
appreciate
a lot
that.
of it, especially when we look at other stories that do the chosen one thing, and I hate to bring up She Who Will Not Be Named, but the HP series I think like does interesting things with like the chosen one stuff because it gets
Yeah.
complicated, and it is about like who you are and like what it means to you, and like you were saying, like how it affects everyone else around you. Like
Mm-hmm.
was the chosen one misinterpreted, and someone else could actually be that chosen one, which it was a dumb twist because it's like he's the star of the story. Like obviously he's the chosen one.
It's the book is named after him.
Exactly. It's like, come on, we're not gonna do a bait and switch here. It's gonna be Neville. Come on. But and then and he has to sacrifice. I mean, it's interesting, and like I saw, and Matrix is also interesting with Neo. I think it does a lot of that stuff, especially
Yeah.
with the twist that there's been a shit ton of ones, and actually you're no
Yeah.
different, but you are different because love. And with Anakin, it's just those ingredients are there, obviously, but because
Yeah.
the prequels came after the original trilogy, and the original trilogy doesn't touch it at all, it's kind of like, oh, okay. So now we have to do a lot of heavy lifting as the audience to
Mm-hmm.
fill in those narrative. I don't want to necessarily call them in gaps, but the things that are that you have to do the homework on for the original trilogy that the
Yeah.
prequels then set up. So I don't know if that made
How
sense.
spicy would you say this take is then?
I think it is spicy. I think it is
Yeah,
spicy.
I agree.
I'm not gonna go with a full 10. I'm not gonna go full
Okay.
10.
It's like when you're looking at things on like the Yelp menu
Yeah,
and they
no,
put the
I
little
know. Yeah.
peppers next to them so you know if
Oh,
they're spicy or not.
yeah.
How many chili peppers would you put next to
How
it?
many chili peppers is the maximum?
I don't know. Make it up.
You're setting the rules here today.
Okay, yeah. Let's say five. Five is the max.
Five is the max. So we're letterboxing these peppers.
Mm-hmm.
I would give it a 2.5. I would say
Two and a
like
half.
it's
2.5 peppers. Yeah.
2.5 peppers.
Let's say 2.5 to 3, especially because I think like the hotness of the take is kind of dependent on the climate of the fandom as well.
Yeah.
And like as we've said, the fandom really loves the chosen one thing.
They they love their
Um,
revisionist history. They
I
love
will I will
their toxic
disagree.
genocidal white boy.
I know I will disagree with the point that this person makes that Vader's fall to the dark side and his redemption are poorly written and unconvincing. I think that his fall to the dark side is quite convincing, and I don't know if I would say well written. I don't know if I would give George Lucas well written
I
on
will
necessarily
never, yeah, like
anything at all.
I am a big fan and advocate of the renewal of love and interest for the prequel trilogy. 100%. I want to
love it.
revisit it and be
I
like,
love
actually,
I've
yeah.
always loved the prequels.
But I cannot get behind being like, it was actually great and well
I
written.
told
I'm like,
you.
absolutely not. Let's draw some lines. Like we can love a thing, but be like George Lucas, maybe not a human. Maybe he doesn't know how humans speak to each other. So
Maybe George Lucas doesn't know how human interaction actually works.
I mean, he wrote them after being a billionaire. He lost the plot about how humans comport.
But I will say, I think, especially in our current day, seeing the alt-right pipeline, seeing so many poor like young men who fall into the alt-right pipeline because
Yeah.
they are disgruntled in their life for some reason or another. I do find Anakin's fall to the dark side to be believable in that I find it believable that a disgruntled young man who is not receiving the support that he needs,
an entitled
and
disgruntled
an
man.
entitled young man
Who's been
not
told
receiving
he's the
support.
chosen one, and he's
And who's being
owed
told
everything.
he's a special little boy, but like also that he can't control certain things in his life, obviously because you can't control stuff in your life, and has weirdly had a vision that his secret wife dies.
He's much more successful and smart. Secret
Yeah,
wife.
yeah, exactly. And he's like, oh, well, I can finally do something to save her. I find it quite believable that he is ripe for the picking for fascism.
And then, and then the person that gives him the solution is a little fashy himself, and actually ends up being Mr. Bad Guy.
An evil shriveled prune.
The baddest of the Batman in the galaxy.
Yeah. an absolute baddie.
But George
And
Lucas is not political, though. Is that one of the hot takes you're gonna present here? That
no,
Star
that's
Wars,
well because
actually, Star Wars isn't
I
political.
just don't think that's a hot take because that's something that people love to say all the time. Is
Yeah.
like, well, it's not actually political. It's just you're just making it political.
I
Like
mean,
that's I just
if you ignore everything George Lucas has ever said, it's not political.
literally. And then people always go back to being like, well, it's for kids.
It's like kid stuff.
And we're
can be
back to the
political?
beginning point. But I will say, I do agree with the fact that I think that the like redemption arc for Vader, I find to be annoying and stupid.
Why? Why? I think that's
Well, I
original
don't find it to
trilogy
be
stuff.
annoying and stupid. I think it's nice that he does come back and has that moment. I really like that. Okay, let me rephrase this, right? I really like that he like realizes his wrongdoing and comes back and stuff like that. However, my man killed so many people.
True,
Like
true, 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 true,
I think
true,
that
true.
I think that I think that I think that he gets a little bit too much credit sometimes. That like
I will say, not to
he got good
justify,
at the end.
not to justify a Vader's slaughter of many people. Uh,
Children.
Allegedly, we didn't see it. It was off camera, so we don't
There's a
know.
fade to black.
Maybe they were crisis actors. You don't know that. But
Fuck.
because what? Oh, all of a sudden I'm the bad guy here.
I know
Um,
that was just a crazy pull.
uh, kind of lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
Because it's a mythical story and because it's fiction.
True, true, true.
I don't think that our judgments of the characters need to be one to one with like how we judge people in the real world,
That's
right? Like
fair.
these
That's
are
very reasonable.
like archetype things that are happening for us to convey a fantastic story, right? So I think ultimately the redemption and emotional payoff, right, of like how these
Mhm.
characters find the light or whatever you want to call them would be a little tarnished if all of a sudden we have the whole like well now we need to go to the tribunal to try you for
No, no, no. Yeah,
crimes
you're
against the
right about
galaxy.
that.
So you know
No, yeah,
I think there's a contrivance that we have to do as consumers of these stories to go past like some of the technicalities of the world, and I think that's
mhm.
a thing that I think a lot of Star Wars fans, I mean fans in general, but Star Wars fans specifically, get hung up on. It's just like the actual histories of the thing instead of seeing the mythical and
Yeah,
emotional
I agree with
story
that.
of. So I don't know
Okay,
if that's
yeah, no,
a
yeah,
I
I'm
don't know if
there
that's
with you.
a
No, 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 no.
I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
you've
a
changed my mind.
I don't know if that's a hot
You've
take, but
you've brought me there with you.
I would call it measured take, not hot take.
No, I think that is a good measured take. I'm there with you. Now we were talking about Dave Filoni and how much work he does
Allegedly.
to to appease the beast that was George Lucas just talking out of his ass.
And maybe he's
um,
becoming that beast now. Who knows?
yeah. So here I have two back-to-back takes, and these are from listeners. So
I love
shout
Dave
out.
Filoni takes. I will say I have some of
I
them
think you're gonna like
myself.
these ones.
Good,
Okay,
good.
so Evsy Racket wrote, Dave Filoni ruins projects by shoehorning his characters into them. And I have a
Hmm.
follow up to that, which is from one of my friends, Marin. And she says, basically summed up into Dave Filoni's Star Wars is just Dave Filoni's fan fiction.
Oh, hard disagree with both.
Okay, interesting. Let's talk.
Hard
Let's talk.
disagree with both because I'm gonna start with the second one because under that logic, everything's fan fiction that wasn't done by George Lucas. I'm just like, come on, let's pump the brakes on.
Reasonable, reasonable.
It's very gatekeepy, right? About like what
Yeah,
is
I
a
guess
Star
so.
Wars and
Yeah,
what isn't. So just like I
true.
mean, and I don't want to say like, oh, just because it's Dave Filoni was George's apprentice that his Star Wars has more, it's more Star Warsy than anything else. But it's just like, but like the man, yeah, like if there was someone that if we were going to go through this hierarchical royal line of succession, then the person that makes Star Wars after George is Dave. So his
Hmm.
Star Wars is, I mean, don't quote me on this, but his Star Wars is probably the best not the best in terms of quality, but the most Star Warsy Star Wars that can come out of Star Wars. That's not George. You know, and
I love Dave Filoni
I'm
Star
not talking
Wars.
about quality. I'm not talking about quality. I'm just talking about if we're gonna measure like who Star Wars is more Star Wars. But that's that. but that's BS, right? Because anything that's Star Wars is Star Wars. You know, like all these books
I
that were
don't know if
written
she
by
was saying that it's
other
like
people.
not Star Wars. I think that it's more that like it can sometimes feel like Dave Filoni is just like, and you know what? I want this to happen because I
But
really like this character
doesn't
and I
isn't
want this
that
character to come
ev-
back.
but isn't that every single person writing any single story?
That's true. I guess that's reasonable. That is a
That's exactly
reasonable
what George did.
rebuttal.
It's like,
Yeah.
actually, we're Anakin's gonna be a little kid in this one. It's like what? Why? And actually, his wife, future wife, is gonna be a little older than him,
Actually, she's going to be 4 years older than him.
and she's gonna be a teenage queen.
um, do you feel like Dave Filoni shoehorns his own characters into things?
No, I don't think he shoehorns. I think he gets a bad rap. I think he gets a bad
Mm.
rap because of obviously liking his characters more than other people's characters, which I was like I would also
God
like my
forbid.
God forbid I like the things I made. You know, I wish
I love Ahsoka.
me too, and I wish I had the capacity to create something that people like that I also like. And I'm just like, maybe I'll do more of the thing I like. I wish
We're
I had that.
literally doing that right now, Goose.
I guess. Thanks for perspective. Thanks for perspective. But I think he gets a bad rep. I just think that he is the anti Tony Gilroy in the sense that because Tony Gilroy is not beholden to any emotional attachment to the franchise, he's just like, I'm just telling my story, and my
Mhm.
story doesn't need to be sprinkled with like with references to these other things, even though obviously there are Mon Mothma and Bail Organa, obviously, but and Saw Gerrera, I guess. But those were necessary characters that served that story, and I think sure, Dave likes to like Mando and Grogu. Let's put Embo in there. Why not? Let's have some fun. He likes to. He's a happy guy. He has his collection of action figures, and sometimes he's like, well, which one am I taking out today?
You know,
Uh,
I when talking to my friend Marin about this because she was like, "Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time we're just living in Dave Filoni's like fan fiction creation of Star Wars." I was like, "Yeah, it's sort of like we're playing like a tabletop RPG with Dave Filoni and he's the game master and we're just all at his
I
whim."
mean, he's his game game
And I'm
president.
not mad about
Actually,
it. I like it.
sometimes I think I I will say that
See?
I don't think he overindulges
You're
in
coming
shoot.
around.
I don't think he overindulges in introducing characters that he likes. I think he overindulges in just pointing at the things he likes.
That's
Because
reasonable.
you know, and I've never said this I don't think I ever said this in a recorded fashion. So this always has been behind the scenes of my I don't want to say smack talk, but everyone likes to talk a little shit. But for fun. Like with Ahsoka, as much as I like that show, so much of it was just like, look at how much I like Lord of the Rings. I also like Lord of the Rings. Have you ever seen a Hobbit? Look at a Hobbit here. Do you remember the wargs from Two Towers? Check this out. I put them there. Remember Fellowship of the Ring when they were
Remember
in
the
the
big tower?
remember the Argonath, the two sculptures of giant sculptures of Elendil and Isildur. Check this out. Gonna
That's
finish the show
so
on that.
funny.
And I'm
That's
like,
so funny. I've never
and I'm
even
like,
thought of
Dave,
that before.
I'm like, Dave, we know that you like Lord of the Rings. We know, but you can be, you can be subtle about it. And I think he sometimes is sledgehammer about his references to the stories that he likes. Like Clone Wars, it's like, hey, remember Seven Samurai? I'm gonna redo it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna redo that shit. It's like, hey, you guys ever seen Godzilla? I'm gonna do that shit again. Which is like cool, but after a while, it's just like, Dave, you gotta stop. You gotta
Dave,
stop telling
Dave,
us
enough of that. Which
like
will happen a lot of the time at a D&D table is sometimes your game master will just retell Lord of
Hey, I love Lord of the Rings as much as
And
the
we all
next.
know it's Lord of the Rings.
Hey, I love the rings. I love my extended editions. God knows I have a couple of Argonath statues in my home. But Dave, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. I would actually prefer if he put in shoehorn more characters that he liked and did more creative stories as opposed to just pointing at other stories that he liked. Like, as much as I appreciated him bringing Thrawn into live action, I'm just like, maybe you don't do it. Maybe you bring back Timothy Zahn and he writes
Yeah.
Thrawn,
Yeah.
instead of you pointing and being like, I want that, and now I'm gonna point at it. Because like that's
Yeah,
how
and
Thrawn feels. It's like you're pointing at Thrawn instead of like letting Thrawn be Thrawn. But
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah, no, that's how I feel about it as well a lot of the
I mean,
time.
I'm not sure
Is
this is a
I'm
hot take, but it's it's my response to a take.
No, that's a reasonable take in response. How hot do you think that take was originally?
Eh, out of 5, letterbox rating system.
Me personally, I would say it's like a 1.5. I feel like a lot of people kind of feel that way about Dave Filoni.
I agree. I'll concur. I'll concur. Everyone.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
an easy accusation to hurl.
yeah. And I think that you do make a good rebuttal in saying that wouldn't everything just be Star Wars fan fiction now from here on out? There is like a certain, I will say though, there is like a Dave Filoni about it that feels
There
specific.
there's a part of if Star Wars were a menu
Yeah.
and you had like all these different Star Wars stories that you can choose, there would definitely be a Filoni page
Yeah.
as opposed to just like including his stuff as different things to peruse from the menu. There would just like be the Filoni section.
The Filoni
It's
section.
very, he's very obvious in how he approaches
It's like
things.
how at Jersey Mike's you can get it Mike's way. You can get it Filoni's way.
Filoni's way.
Yeah.
I've never been to
I'm
Jersey Mike's, but I smell what you're cooking.
they got gluten-free options and I can't
Sure.
eat gluten, so you'll
Oh,
find me at the Jersey Mike's.
that's a
Um
biologically woke. It's like I can't even eat it.
it's biologically woke. Yeah, my body attacks me. It's very woke. I will say, on that bent of talking about Dave Filoni's Star Wars, especially talking about things like Mandalorian, etc., one person wrote into me. They said that this is Bardic inspired. Said Mando should have died fighting the droids at the end of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie.
Absolutely
It would
not.
have
Absolutely not.
absolutely not. Yeah, I
Absolutely not.
don't
That's
think so
dumb.
either.
I mean, I don't mean to say dumb. I respect you
No,
as a
he
human
meant to
being.
say it.
I respect you as a person that submitted that. Thank you for listening. Please continue to listen. I apologize for saying you're dumb, but that's no,
This is just us like alienating all of our
absolutely not.
listeners.
Absolutely not.
I
Why?
do think
Because like this is an Andor. Like what is this?
I think that there's a way they need to find to end it, and I don't feel like they found a way. Like, I thought that they were going to find a way to, like, kind of tie up the Mando and Grogu story in that, and I understand why someone would say that, like, oh yeah, Mando dying defending Grogu could be a good way to do that. I don't think that it matches the tone
And then who
of
does
The
Grogu go with?
Mandalorian.
Rada? It's like then it's Rada. And then the next movie's the Rada and Grogu.
I'd watch it.
Can't be worse.
I can't say I'd like it, but I would watch it.
Hey, I'll watch anything. Call me a shill. I'll watch all those
Okay,
Space
what
Wars
style
movies.
of hot take can I introduce you in next? I have
I think we
what do you
need
want?
to. I think we need to go to hot ones and just take the plunge.
Okay, you want to hear one that's scary? This was submitted by none of the audience. This was one I found on Reddit. It's
I mean, if it's Reddit, it's gonna almost be fine. If it were 4chan, I'd be like, maybe we don't.
I think that this maybe is one that like people on 4chan might believe. This is one both of us are going to not like. I hopefully hope that no one who listens to our podcast will like this
Here we
either.
go.
This is one I was not aware existed. I'm not surprised it exists, but I wasn't aware. Star Wars doesn't need POC actors because aliens are a stand-in for minorities and thus make the original Star Wars films incredibly diverse.
That's not real.
It's just not true.
I mean, no, that's
It's
not a
just
real
like
opinion that anyone ever.
it's just It's just the biggest like cope there could ever be from
That
like a
can't
white
be.
supremacist.
Someone didn't say that. But no self-respecting person would actually write those words
Listen,
and be
listen,
like,
listen.
"Hey,
I'm
this
not saying
this makes
this was on a
sense."
post where it was people saying the craziest takes they've heard, and so it wasn't this poster's personal take. So maybe they made it up to be an asshole, right? Because people on Reddit be making stuff up. But I would not be surprised if that is something that an idiotic fanboy has said at one, or a fan woman. You know what? Women can
Fan
also be
person,
horrible.
fan person.
Fan person. Yeah, maybe this was a non-binary.
Let's include everybody in there. Let's give them
That is
the diversity that
the
they're not allowing
craziest.
for.
Yeah, non-binary people. Hot take: non-binary people can also be racist. They really can be.
I was gonna say something, but
white queers can be. White queers give us a bad PR a lot of the time.
Gays for Trump. Anyway,
The normal gays.
Those normal gays, those straight passing gays, and the straight passing gays that love
LGB
country.
without the T.
Just give me some lettuce and my LGB, and some tomato, I guess, but not the other T. That's dumb. And so, but then under that logic, does that mean that then we're gonna exclusively cast POC people to play the aliens, or do they? I'm like losing my ability to speak.
I know, no, isn't it? It's a horrible take. It's an absolutely asinine take.
Or must the whites also portray the aliens?
Well, I did one time get a response from someone that was like, "Well, I guess the only characters white people can play anymore are bad guys."
I was like, so isn't that good? Like, you still got role, right? Everyone loves a baddie.
You're still getting work.
Like, don't people prefer to be like a baddie? Like, every time I see an actor being like, I love playing the bad guy, it's so much fun.
It is fun to be a bad guy. I've enjoyed playing a bad guy in the past. So that was a hot take. That was just atrocious. Disgusting. Yeah, no, it's atrocious. I mean, I wouldn't even give it like the quality of a hot take. I would just be like, no, that's just like a white supremacist idea.
That would be. I wouldn't give it a pepper. I'm trying to find something funny and quirky that insults them to give them
mayonnaise.
It's five cartons of rotten milk. It's just like it's milk that went bad.
Yeah,
it's white.
Yeah, that's a
rotten
white, milk.
But it's rotten. You know, like the carton's a little bloated.
Yeah, and you can feel it, but you like smell it because you're like maybe not.
Maybe not. It is. Maybe it's like.
But it is.
Is this how it's supposed to smell? I kind of forgot how milk smells. Maybe, but then you throw it away. Obviously.
Okay, this one is another one this one isn't horrible. That was the most horrible one that I saw. That one was like the most like egregious white supremacist bullshit thing to say that I found, right? That was the most horrible one. So but on the topic of, like fascism, this is another one that I got a lot from people, which is that the Republic is just as evil as the Empire, but it was just more subtle about it. That they did child soldiers, they did regional suppression, corruption, colonialism, suppression of alien species, aka the people of Just kidding. And it all starts with the Republic, and it was just set up, and then the Jedi also enforce it.
I think this is one of those things. This is why we might actually have Trump term 3 in 2028, because I think that there's this false equivalency morality issue that lots of leftists have, where it's just like, well, I need to vote for my morals. I cannot vote for a side that's also bad. And it's like, okay, there's two choices. We're gonna obliterate every single human being on this planet, or this guy might treat one group a little bad. And it's like, I'm sorry, there's only one moral choice when you only have two choices that you can do. So that being said, I'm like, I don't have any issues with finding what the systemic problems of a system are, regardless of like if they're one that you're choosing because you have no choice, right?
Hmm.
So it's one of these things where it's just like, yeah, am I gonna vote for Democrats in the coming election? Probably, because
Yeah.
the alternative is keeping ICE that's gonna keep unaliving people
Yeah.
and deporting our brothers and our siblings out there, or going into fascism and suppression of speech and all these things, or kind of voting for a guy that maybe is like it doesn't tick all the marks and like
Yeah.
our list
It's like
of
it's like the choice between being like, yeah, of course, like it's what I call like online leftists,
yeah,
where
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, yeah, obviously it's not going to be great. It's a capitalist American like system that was not set up to be great, like,
Correct, by
but
design, and we can acknowledge
but
that.
yeah, and we can acknowledge that and be aware of that. And like, but the way that, since you're online talking about how much you like care about trans people, care about whatever, one of the ways that you can actually demonstrate care for, like, as someone who's part of a queer community, one of the ways you can actually demonstrate care for us is to actually vote for someone who's not going to actively champion the genocide
Mhm,
of
mhm,
that
mhm, mhm,
community.
mhm,
And
mhm.
like people with ICE, for example, people always love to say, oh, well, like Democrats support ICE too. And it's like, yeah, but there's a difference between ICE being so enabled to that they are like
Mhm,
literally running our streets like a secret police, and ICE
mhm,
is going
mhm.
to be bad either way, right? It's a bad invention, but
Yeah,
there's a difference
since it's
between,
gonna be bad either way, let's enable the version of it that's worse.
yeah, and if you want to sit on a like moral high horse being like, well, they were both bad, and like really, like, if you think about it, like voting doesn't even matter or whatever. It's like, okay, so like at that point it's like the thing that's like, if there are this is like a little bit intense, but it's the thing that's like, if there are 9 Nazis at a table and one guy who doesn't really care, there are 10 Nazis at the
Correct, correct,
table.
correct, correct.
And I think like this argument, because I agree, of course the Republic wasn't great. We all know the Republic wasn't great. That's like what the Clone Wars is about, is how the Republic was failing and not doing the best job,
Yeah.
and like how it, of course, was corrupt and stuff like that. But it's not on par with an actively fascist, like over like uh wizard emperor
Yeah.
that's blowing up full planets. Like, I think it's like, I do think it's very online leftist to have that idea. And I don't want to be like offensive to the person who put in this theory, because I understand thinking that way. However, I do think, like you said, we get into these straits almost where we get so philosophical about it that we stop thinking about the active issues that are happening,
Yeah,
where it's
yeah.
like, no, at the end of the day, Palpatine was blowing up full planets.
Yeah, it's this false equivalency, right? It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's like saying, well, the United States was just as bad as Nazi Germany, but it's just like, sure, like the United States at the time, blatant and still does have blatant racism and horrible with women, like all these things. But one side was putting people on trains and sending them to undesirable places and not back to their countries, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
They were actively destroying a group of people and trying to dominate a a
In
part
a
of the
in a way
world.
that is historically unprecedented, that has never been
Yeah.
seen
So
before,
it's
pretty
just like
much, like in that way.
the false equivalency of like saying like, well, the United States was just as bad. It's just like, no, the United States is bad, but if we're kind of apples, this is if we're comparing apples to apples, like no, then this is completely different ballpark. And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of the equivalency that the Republic versus the Empire is. It's like, sure, and like it's by design, right? That George presented a republic that was, I mean,
Imperfect.
he was mirroring the current state of the United States
Yeah,
politics. Like
exactly.
a republic that is failing because of its bureaucracy and corruption, with space wizards that are also being compromised because they're doing what stuff for the government as opposed to upholding their values. It's like, yes, we can see like the mirrors, right, of like how
Hmm.
this reflects the decay of our government and the present and democracy and all those things. But to say that it's this, but George Lucas was also very clear. It's like, yeah, this is not good, the structure of it, but the ideal of the Republic is definitely better than this horrible fascist dictatorship where all of a sudden, like now, everyone is under the boot of fascism. It's
Literally.
it's
No.
no good. I don't think so.
And
I mean,
like on that point of the Jedi, another person wrote in, so I included it under this bullet point because it's kind of the same point, but they said that the Jedi are no better than the Imperials. Both had, quote, positive goals and used terrible means to achieve them, which again, I
hard
think
disagree.
falls hard disagree. And I, as you know,
The
I am
Empire had no good
extremely
goals.
I am such a Jedi critic, right? I
Yeah,
am
yeah,
very
yeah.
critical of the Jedi Order. I love criticizing the Jedi Order. But I think that this idea that like, oh, well, like they had what they were presenting as positive ideas or whatever is like kind of silly
Yeah.
because it like yeah, like you could make the argument that everyone thinks that they're doing something good and like whatever,
No.
but like
But the Empire's quite
the
black and
Empire
white
like
on
yeah, the
being like,
Empire
we're
knows
bad.
that they're not. Like yeah. Like they're just objectively horrible,
Yeah.
I would say. And like even if you want to say like the Empire like even if you want to do like a mental gymnastics of saying like oh well like the Empire thought they were bringing order to the galaxy. Still, do you think they thought it was right to like blow up planets?
Mhm.
Like what are we doing? Like why are we saying this, you know? And I think that again it goes into almost what we were talking about with the whole idea of like oh well we can't criticize Star Wars or whatever. It's again this idea of like no there's nuance to these
Mhm.
ideas, you know? And when we stop seeing nuance, when we go into black and white thinking like that, you know, of like, oh, well, they're both just as bad because they both did this thing or whatever. That's again, that's fascism thinking.
Yeah,
Is when
yeah,
you
yeah.
lose the ability to have nuanced critical thinking about things. It that's what gives us fascism a lot of the time.
I
So
mean, Jedi, very bad things we can say about them, absolutely. And I think that,
I've said many bad things about them personally.
but at the end of the day, like, yes, it's like, are their ideals are built on good things, and they historically have tried to do good things. I guess the institution broken, absolutely, and that's why I was very upset that Luke Skywalker didn't reform some of those things with his Jedi Academy, which led to just repeating the same old mistakes of the past.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for a different episode. So hopefully Rey is able to like reform that. But I think that's the crux of it. It's like finding that things have bad things in them doesn't immediately equate them to, well, therefore if they have bad things, therefore they're equal to this other bad thing. And it's
Yeah,
like, no.
exactly. Exactly. And like on this is sort of a pivot to maybe a lighter sort of bent with this. But because, we're talking about, how Luke failed in his pursuit to maybe reform the Jedi. Because yeah, it's like the Jedi bad, obviously, but bad in a different way than the Sith. Like what are we doing here, And but like with Luke, something I think a lot of people tend to talk about is that Luke's character was destroyed by the sequel trilogy, as people love to say that. Someone, Tide of the Summers, wrote in that Luke being who he is in The Last Jedi makes 100% sense with his character flaws that were pre-established in his character arc in the original trilogy. And I wonder what you think of that.
That's not a hot take. That's I wholeheartedly agree.
It's a hot take for some people.
Some people that are wrong. Like I have
I agree as well.
zero qualms of being like people that are hung up on Luke's characterization, which again is based on their projection and their idea of what masculinity should be, especially based on Super Luke from the expanded universe or whatever. So it's like, sure, like
Oh my
whatever,
god.
but
Expanded universe Luke pisses me off.
I mean, at least he got married, and like had
Hey.
did reforms to the Jedi and shit like that. So he's
He
not
can
all
be an
bad.
unmarried man. He can be a.
The issue's not if he was an unmarried man or not in sequel trilogy.
I know.
The
I
problem
know.
is that it's the whole institution of the Jedi forbidding attachments, and this is one thing that definitely I'm upset with sequel trilogy Luke, which maybe they'll address with Rey. But it's this whole thing where Luke was able to defeat Darth Vader by doing the opposite of what the Jedi Order tells him to do.
Yeah.
Jedi orders about like not no attachments and doing what the order needs. Like Yoda being like, yeah, you gotta kill him, bro. And same with Obi-Wan's just like, hey, there's no good in him left. You gotta cut that head off that snake. And Lucas is like, no, my attachments and my emotions to my father are what make me powerful. I have to embrace them because that's how we'll save him. And he saves them through redemption and love and compassion. So for all of a sudden Luke to be like actually my greatest weapon against the ultimate evil, which was love, compassion, that led to his redemption. Now I'm just gonna double down to just doing the same old
Yeah.
shtick that the. I mean, to be fair, we
And I
don't
feel
know
like
exactly what he was doing because Lucasfilm is so opposed to showing us anything from that post Return of the Jedi era Luke that we honestly don't know. But from what we've
they
seen,
just got so traumatized by the reception of the sequel trilogy that they're like, well, we're never going to talk about it again.
here's a little preview. There's a book that's coming out soon. Uh,
Oh, you've told me about this.
for those of you listening, I can't talk about it until actually this week. Actually, this week I can release the review for it. But it's supposed to be a book that starts filling in gaps and telling us stuff between movies that I think are had the potential to be exciting. But so far, I'm just like, what are we doing, Lucasfilm? Yes,
Yeah,
what are we
you're a little
doing?
underwhelmed with it.
That's a
Yeah.
that's a that's a that's a word that I might or might not
Underwhelmed?
use.
Mm. Ah, we're just so in sync, you and me. And I think too with Luke, one of the ways too that he like has that redemption arc is that he appeals to like Vader's need for attachment as well. Like that's also like part of Vader's redemption is like being like, oh no, like I want to save my child and
Hmm,
like
hmm, hmm.
save, these things that I'm arguably attached to. And I think that Luke's character makes sense with the character flaws that he
Hmm,
has
hmm.
in the like trilogy building
Yeah.
up. And I think that again, this critique of like, well, they completely nuked Luke's character.
Did they
I think
though?
they
Did they?
I think yeah, no, I think they nuked like some possibilities that would have been cool with like with something that Luke could do. But I think that also comes again from this over attachment to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
silly little prophecy, the silly prophecy.
Well, and it makes sense. Like, let's look at look at Luke. Let's examine it, right? Like the dude probably has some trauma, right? Of like, oh,
Yeah.
first I found out that my dad, who I thought was X person, actually is this other person who is the most evil person in the galaxy. Trauma number one. Then two, you have to watch him die immediately after you've been tortured with electricity from a geriatric person, and then you have to see him immediately die after you redeem him. So there's, I think there's another level of trauma there of like darkness and light and who I am, my family, and like the darkness in my family. So all of a sudden, once you think you've conquered your trauma and like have become this paragon of light and good for everyone else, all of a sudden your nephew, you see that same darkness. That has to be triggering for
Yeah.
anybody, so
And
it triggers his trauma. And it's a response that I think is valid. It's just like, oh shit, everything I've done is for naught because
mhm.
the the darkness from my family is back. So I think it makes absolute sense.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also it makes sense because it's like Luke is continuing to be this kid who just gets thrown into stuff, and he's like suddenly supposed to be in charge of all. He's suddenly supposed to be this paragon of hope for the rebellion. He's suddenly supposed to be a Jedi. He's suddenly supposed to be all of these things, and he, completes his hero's journey essentially. But what comes after the hero's journey? What are you
Another
supposed to
hero's
do?
journey.
Unfortunately.
It starts
Um,
again.
but it's like yeah, it's he's left with this trauma, and I think like even the way it ends with him standing alone from other people
Mhm.
in the like celebration, and burning Vader on his own, and all of this stuff is like it I think it really sets up his character to make a lot of sense to be someone who is gonna struggle to like stick to these ideals that I think a lot of people were expecting from him,
Yeah, yeah.
especially people who say like, oh, well, like it ruined who his character is. And I'm like, no, I think it like makes a lot of sense for him having like this much trauma and this much responsibility kind of shoved on him to like Luke. isn't supposed like it's weird to me because it's like they always claim to hate Mary Sue so much, but they're asking Luke to be a Mary Sue
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
he's
yeah,
like
yeah.
unfailing and perfect and like shouldn't have like, fumbled it with trying to teach the Jedi and stuff like that. And I agree that they didn't do enough to
Mhm.
set up Luke's character essentially to like have this failing maybe and show us like where he went wrong maybe, but like
I mean, but
I
I don't
don't
think they
think it.
needed to, right? I
Yeah.
think the movie has said 30 years after the end of Return of the Jedi. So it's like 30 years is a long time for people to be a little different.
Yeah.
So I think it's totally fine for his character to be like in a different place after 30 years. That's
Yeah, agreed. Just like how George Lucas continues to change his mind about what he means by stuff over the past 50 years.
let's see what crazy shit he says when the museum opens.
Oh my god, I'm so excited for the museum, dude. I'm really, really excited for it.
There's gonna be some wild, wild, wacky stuff coming from his mouth. It's
It's gonna
gonna
be
be
silly. That's why his wife's gonna be there. Keep him
she's
in
gonna be
mind.
George.
George, babe, George, just
It's time to go home, honey. You're sundowning. He's up there.
No, he is. I know. That's sort of like why I'm like, oh, that might be why his wife is always with him because she's like kind of keeping an eye on him. Maybe at this point.
I think he needs a handler. Let me see. I don't want to slander the man. Let's age check him.
He's 80.
82.
He's 82, man. Yeah.
He could do two things. He could either be president of the United States at this age, or he could Lindsey Graham it. Like he's right there in between both
I hope
options.
that when George dies, he dies peacefully and enjoyably.
I hope with a glass of Skywalker wine in his hand.
Skywalker wine. If you want to send us any wine, let us know.
I paid for that for the May the 4th.
I know.
I did. It was lovely, and I would love to
It
be
was good.
sponsored.
Oh, okay. I want to get some then.
The sparkling was especially good.
Okay, good to know. I'll keep that in mind.
The white wine, depends on your mileage on white wines, but the sparkling, pretty good. The red was also pretty good.
A delight.
But yes, if Skywalker Ranch, come on.
Come on. Look at us. We're esteemed boys. We're high class gentlemen.
I like a little bevy. Like a little bevy. Yeah.
So many people listen to us.
There's dozens of
dozens. I think to shift it into sort of maybe more silly little ones as we close out, because we've hit all nature of hot takes. We've hit the heavy lifters. We've hit ones that might not be that hot. We've hit ones that are just vilely offensive.
Some bad milk.
Yeah, we've hit the rotten milk, and we've had a lot of good conversations. This is one that I found extremely. This one cracked me up, frankly. I also, to those of you whose handles I am saying, sorry if I pronounce them wrong. They're Instagram handles. Mia Gorier says Lars, quote, freeing Shmi so he could marry her is just mail order bride with extra steps.
It's sus. I will.
It is sus.
It is. Like, I know George didn't mean it to come out that way. It's just like, hey, the power of love. We can find each other, and I'm gonna say, but it's kind of like. It's sus. It's just like, oh, then she becomes your wife.
Thomas Jefferson coded.
But it's exactly. But it's one of those things where like you didn't set her free before. I don't know. It was.
I know. I'm like, you didn't set her free just immediately.
Yeah, it was like. I mean, we actually don't know? Like, what was the period of time between the purchase and the freeing? Like, was there like a week that she was actually just working on the farm?
Yeah, like what are we talking here? How long was she quote owned by Lars before?
I don't like it.
I'm just a bad book. I'm not a massive fan of it. Okay, I'm not a massive fan of it.
I'm sure it was fine because obviously it's fine because George Lucas wrote it to be fine. But historically, not fine.
Not fine.
We know that there's always exceptions to the rules. There's always an exception, but
I personally got questions.
Optics.
I got some questions.
Even Waddle probably was like, "Hey, what was that?
Hey, that was kind of a weird move.
That was kind of weird." But
I think
Old
especially the
Lars.
phrasing of a mail order bride with extra steps is so
Is at least one more
funny.
step. At least one more.
Okay, another fun and iconic take from Bebop Jared is the first hour of A New Hope is boring. Only like the opening and the cantina scenes are fun.
That's a hot take.
I agree.
Like one of the most iconic openings in cinema history
No,
that helped
he liked
define.
the opening. I like the opening.
Then what's not to like after that? Like
It's
the
just they're
because
moving
there's
around a lot.
because
They're just
they're
driving
talking,
around.
they're
Luke's yeah,
talking.
it's just Luke going to hang out with old man, and then they go over here, and then you know, Aunt and Uncle need to get zapped for things to really to really get
I don't know that I agree with this take. That's I mean,
the spicy take.
it's spicy. I think that's
I didn't realize I agreed with it until they
you
submitted
agree
it, and
with
I was like, you know what? Actually, yeah, I do agree. I
that's
find it to be a little bit dry. I'm like, okay. I like again. He says the cantina scene and the opening are great, but then there's we're just doing a lot of moving there.
I think that's
I can
easy
see
to
you trying to be
say.
nice about this
I see
response.
that that's a easy it's a easier to say like in the post well, not Disney era, but just like in this post Star Wars world where we have so much of it, and we have so much, especially with the prequels that are a lot more action packed and out of the context of more fast moving media.
True, true.
I can see how maybe it's not the pacing that we might be used to more contemporary film and TV, right? But it's still good, right? Like it's
It's
just
not bad. It's
just
not
because
bad.
just
I'm just saying it's a little bit boring.
and that movie had a lot of heavy lifting to do, right?
Oh yeah,
there wasn't any
there wasn't
context to what Star
there
Wars
wasn't any
was.
Star Wars yet.
Exactly. So it was kind of setting itself up as a self-contained reality, right? And I think it definitely needed to take its time. Like, oh, these are the characters, these are the places, and these are the motivations, and this is how everyone kind of meets each other. And
Yeah,
all their Star Wars films have the advantage of having had the heavy lifting done by that movie. So
yeah, and I wonder too. That's something I think about a lot. Is it's like, okay, how would I feel about this if I had no other context? You know, if I was just in
it
the
would have
'70s
blown your
going to see.
mind.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it would have absolutely rocked my socks. I would have been like, this is crazy. I will say also, I do think the fact that Luke is kind of a little bit annoying in that movie does contribute to maybe that feeling as well.
I think it's interesting because, and it's definitely maybe a sign of the times or just having more diverse opinions on Luke's characterization. But because for me, like growing up, he never seemed annoying to me. But then again, Luke is insert character, and for a lot of us young men, straight men that were watching that movie, like that was the character. At least for me, like that was the character that I most had
Aww.
any syncopation with. So in a lot of ways, it's like now in hindsight, it's like maybe I didn't find him annoying because I was annoying.
You were annoying, Goose. Come on. No, just kidding.
More than likely. More than likely.
Um,
That's
okay,
why
this
I
is
don't
actually
revisit the past.
this is a little bit connected to that. This is actually one from Reddit that I have been wanting to launch like a ship towards you because you especially are like a cinema guy, I think more than me. I'm more of a like
I
nerdy
try.
stuff guy
I
and
try.
you're like a cinephile, I would say. Um
Ish, ish. Yeah.
this connects though cuz you
I
were
have a
talking about,
letterboxed. Yeah.
yeah, oh, he does.
I'm
And
a
I read
patron.
your letterbox
I'm
reviews.
a patron on Letterboxd, don't you know?
You are.
Yeah, yeah. I
Wow.
pay. I pay the premium bucks.
Supporting the arts. We'd love to see it.
Yes.
Um, this person on Reddit says Star Wars ruined cinema by starting the trend of big franchises.
Agree.
Agree. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. It's like
Interesting.
now, I mean, agree in a reductive way, right? Because
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
obviously
mm-hmm.
I disagree in the sense that I love my big old IPs. But I agree in the sense that because of this whole blockbuster next big thing needs to make even more money than the previous big thing. Like cinema now, instead of just people focusing on just making a good movie, has just kind of been reduced to,
Needs to make money.
I don't want to say it's been reduced to slop, because there's a lot of really great things out there right now, but I hate to do this again, but Mando and Grogu does feel like an apotheosis, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
where cinema is, right? Like it's, and I especially love it in contrast with Obsessions and Backrooms, to kind of like
Mm-hmm.
see how cinema post Star Wars has been chasing its own tail, trying to be replicate that and all the different iterations of it that they can find. And at the end of the day, we as moviegoers, movie watchers, whatever you want to call us, we just want good stories, and we want things that are made
Yeah.
well, that appeal to us. And Backrooms and Obsession are great examples of that. I mean, and let's look at Dune, right? Dune wants to the upcoming Dune 3.
Yeah.
They're still kind of technically big IP films,
But it's a
but they're,
harder IP to tackle
yeah,
too than
but
like, because Dune
they're
is
great.
weird.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and they're good. I have my qualms with it because of how they
Oh, I mean,
still
it's like
they
white man settler
exactly, and
like
and
porn.
like I know that people are just like, but that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that he's actually a bad guy. And it's like, sure, but they still frame him as the fucking badass. So like
Yeah, no, I know. He's still
for
like the magic boy.
yeah, and we love a good old boy, don't we? But yeah, but I agree. I agree
Interesting.
with the
Okay, I was
thesis
excited to hear your take on
with the
that. Yeah, yeah,
thesis
yeah.
of that. Yeah,
That
because
is an
not
interesting.
we live in this world of Avatar, Fire and Ash, and Avengers, Doomsday, and like all, which I'm excited for. Full disclosure, but it's exactly like we're trying to chase the high. They're trying to chase the high of the blockbuster.
It's true. And I sorry, I'm just laughing at Avengers because I just like stopped paying attention to Avengers after Endgame.
Oh, you're behind.
I am extremely behind because I was like, it was called Endgame.
Yeah, the end game, that game, a new game.
There's
That's
more
like
coming.
saying the last World Cup, the one they won, and there's no more World Cup.
Okay. Okay, you know what? That framing, I can see that. That makes sense. That makes sense. I appreciate that reframing.
Actually, let's check if the last Endgame came out with the last World Cup. Let's check. You can keep talking, so there's no weird.
Okay, well, okay, so while Goose is looking up stuff, I'm also looking at I actually printed out the hot takes for this because I like to look at paper personally. So if you guys hear a lot of shuffling in the background, that's what's going on. Also, if this is a bad episode, you guys can blame me because this was my idea. But be nice to me about it because I'm very cute and I'm very wholesome, and if you're mean to me, it's actually homophobic. So
That's true, I guess.
so
So
there. Yeah,
leave a
exactly. See?
5-star rating regardless.
Yeah, legally you have to be nice to me. Also because it's my birthday month, you also have to be nice to me.
Oh, so you get
I
Pride and birthdays? Ugh.
get everything.
Must be nice. Must be nice.
Yeah, it's actually really cool to be queer in America right now, Goose.
Yeah. Gotta take those
You
right.
you wouldn't know about being.
Take them away. Take them away. You got
I
too
mean,
many.
you wouldn't know anything about being in a minority, Goose. Just kidding.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, guys. Just so we all know, I'm kidding.
That's an interesting conversation, but not for today.
No, we're aligned as in class struggle.
Yeah,
Because when we fight each other, that's when the fascists win, guys.
that's true. Like the greatest trick they have ever pulled is to have people just vote against
Pit
their
us
own
against one another.
self-interest.
It's true. It's true.
Whatever. It's nice to be alive.
This was a very popular take that I got, and I'll talk about it for a minute. And then Goose, I don't know if you're still looking things up right now.
No. I did, and there's no correlation between the last.
There's no correlation.
World Cup and Avengers Endgame.
What are you gonna do? Is a lot of people who were saying that Pong Krell,
yes,
infamous
good
deviant,
guy. Yeah.
is one of the most interesting character arcs, is one of the most interesting bad guys, and someone even went as far to say that he is a better villain than Maul.
Okay, that person needs to sit down. Because The
Sorry,
latter.
I laugh so loudly into the mic, and I just know that it's like so annoying.
Don't worry, the levels will work out, especially with this microphone and my very bad post editing skills.
No, you're pretty good at it.
Please, I'm not.
You're better than me.
I don't know about that. I've seen your videos. There's there's editing.
Hey, I'm good at editing the video. I don't know what to do with audio though, so you know what?
Well, this is a separate episode, I guess. Better than Darth Maul is a. I mean,
I disagree. I think that a lot of people like to hate on Maul, and it might come back to the whole Filoniism of it all, because people are like, they shouldn't have brought Maul back. I don't know if that's this person's take, okay? I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I think a lot of people like to hate on Maul. I do think Pong Krell is an elite villain, because I think that the villains
everyone hates him. Yeah, he's just
well, also because he's like horrible to the clones, and
Yeah.
I think it's a really good reflection of like how much we value the clones as an audience, and also how like it's such a reflection too of like kind of, I don't know, like classism, elitism, etc., you know? And yeah, he's so hateable. But the person who said that he has a really good character arc, I was interested in, because I think it's a little bit of the headcanoning that we as Star Wars fans can do, because I would like to see more of Pong Krell's character arc. I would like to know more about it, but I think in the time it was allotted, I didn't get as much from it to be able to say it was a great character.
Yeah,
you know?
Dude,
I'm interested about your take on that.
You know, full disclosure, it's been a minute and a half since I
just rewatched all of these
since
too.
I
So I'm
rewatched the Pong Krell episode, just in case. Because I don't remember what was.
There were like 3 of them. I think.
Yeah, episodes. There we go. So my memory of them are unreliable at best. Call me George Lucas, but I think maybe a lot of it also has to do with Dex. I think there's a lot of fascination with Dex as a character, and since they're the same species, it's one of those things where it's like, well,
interesting.
What if fandom loves their Dex? I don't understand why.
I'm not overly interested by the fact that people love Dex. I also love Dex. He's a delight.
I don't get it, honestly. But that's
he's a guy who owns a diner. He's a small business owner.
He's a I don't know.
Who might be a little shady.
I think there's like a continuation of that fandom. It's like, well, from Dex, we like that him as a character in a species, maybe. So like, there's another species that's like Dex that now has multiple dual wielding lightsabers. So I think there's a coolness to him.
He definitely has a cool factor.
He does. But then the doucheness of it all comes back. Even more so than his arms, I guess. So, you know, I have
even more so than his arms.
I feel like I don't care, right? Unfortunately.
Goose says this is a lukewarm take.
Yeah.
This take doesn't exist for me on the scale.
I'm like, I don't
I just am interested by how interested. It's one of those things where I'm like, wow, I never even would have thought of that. Like, I don't think I think about Pong Krell, obviously, because he's hateable.
I don't. I feel like I'm like Thanos on that. I was like, I don't even know.
I also famously have said that I think Pong Krell's kind of sexy, and a lot of people didn't appreciate that take.
You know, there's a lot of actuallys out there. And like I've said in the past, I'm not gonna yuck anyone's yum.
Thank you, Goose. I feel very accepted. But
I'm also not gonna enable it.
On another take, which is one that I would never have thought of, right? And I would like to think that you and I are both very creative individuals, and we think of a lot of stuff. I think you and I both ruminate a bit on things.
Ruminate for sure.
Yeah, we both ruminate, right?
In dark places. I mean, it's like ruminating. It's like, why did I do that? It's so bad.
Someone who specifically asked to remain anonymous said that they think that C-3PO is a more annoying character than Jar Jar Binks.
That's not true.
It's just not true.
Is it anonymous because it was you?
No!
Okay. It's like my girlfriend in Canada. Yeah.
My girlfriend in Canada. Yeah, she goes to a different school.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely incorrect. That's absolutely. He was I will say that C-3PO in Attack of the Clones was insufferable. I will say that.
I think that C-3PO is insufferable. we give him too much. If we give C-3PO too much time, he gets really annoying, right? Like we can't be giving him too much time.
But there's also too little time
True.
in a Star War, because I think that in The Force Awakens, for example, and Last Jedi for that matter, like too little C-3PO. I think too little C-3PO doesn't take you too far, but
It's
too
true.
much C-3PO, that'll set you back a while. I will
And
say
I think
that.
especially having too little C-3PO in the sequels, it made it feel like his inclusion was like just to be like, here, damn, here's C-3PO. Which
Exactly,
is, I was
exactly.
like, no, give us C-3PO. But I do not think he's more annoying than Jar Jar.
No, 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 no. And
Jar
I
Jar
don't,
causes me anxiety.
and I don't want to throw shade at Jar Jar because there was enough of that happened back in the day. We love Jar Jar, we love Ahmed Best in this house, but in Episode 1, maybe George Lucas, again, maybe because he was rich, he lost touch with what children like.
Marcia dumped him.
I mean, she had done it a long time ago at this point. But it's just like one of these things where it's just like, what is something that will appeal to the younger people? What is our new C-3PO? And I think he was just out of touch, and no one stopped him to say, like, George, this is
George, this is
too
kind of
much.
cringe.
Like, George, we need to kind of reel it in. Like, let's change the accent, maybe. Let's no poop jokes. So, but
Yeah, this is something that I will stand on, is that I find Jar Jar annoying. Because I find him
he is.
agitating. He is someone who, if I were to know him, I would not hang out with.
I would avoid him.
I would avoid him.
But
I
not
would
because
if I were to see him
I think
around,
he's a bad guy. I'm just like,
not because I think he's a bad guy.
You're a nice
I don't
guy,
think Jar Jar's a bad guy. And
this is
also,
not.
I feel bothered by the fact that people were so insane about him that
Correct.
it led to the point that Ahmed Best was like suicidal, essentially. Because it makes it now so that when I say I don't like Jar Jar, everyone hops in my comments being like, well, did you know that the actor almost like died because of it? And I'm like, guys, I'm not saying that it's actor Ahmed Best that I hate. I'm saying that Jar Jar Binks is an objectively annoying individual, and if I were to know him, it would really cause me a lot of agita to be. My heart rate would be up.
I would agree. Like I love me the Jar Jar, but that doesn't mean that I'm an apologist for some of the more questionable infantilized usage of the character in Episode 1. As much as I will go to my grave saying that Episode 1 is the best of the prequels, Jar Jar might be the worst thing about the prequels, but not because of Ahmed Best. Ahmed Best was
I think the worst thing about the
doing the
prequels is
best
the
job
prophecy.
he could do. I would say the weird underage stuff with Anakin, but
okay, I have a big stance that I take on this.
Or the child slaughter. I'm just like,
I
know it's trite
okay,
at this point,
here's
but
something that I have noticed as a trend in Star Wars, both in George Lucas Star Wars and in Filoni Star Wars, is this theme of like, do these two have a sibling relationship or are they in love with each other?
I think it comes from people that don't know what emotions are.
Like the creator.
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah, correct. I don't know that they know what love is.
Say more about that.
I don't know that they understand love. So they mix it up. They like don't know. It's just like what is it? Like I know that they're both happily married, but still, I don't know that they know how to translate it.
Yeah, and I wonder too if it comes from like a difficulty in A, writing romance, and B, writing friendships between men and women as well. Because it's like, I think that is something a lot of people struggle with, is not only writing friendships between men and women, but then also having other people perceive friendships happening between men and women. And like, I'd say like a big example of this is like Ezra and Sabine, because I don't think Sabine has like any interest in Ezra, but
what's your take there? I know there's a lot of opinions on Ezra and Sabine.
I feel confused. I feel confused by it consistently because I'm like, okay, yeah, like the the idea that Ezra has a crush on Sabine made a lot of sense to me, right? He's like this younger like teen basically, and like there's this cool semi-older teen girl who's like a badass and she's very pretty, obviously. Like that makes sense to me. That totally makes sense to me. What I don't see them being together though as a couple. Like I wouldn't want that as a result personally. But then when I watched the live action show, I was like, maybe, but because I also feel like they end up having more of a sibling relationship, which is kind of where my whole like, okay, what siblings or dating? Like what are we trying to do here?
Game of Thrones.
Filoni? True. Meanwhile, me like watching House of the Dragon being like, yay, the uncle's kissing his knee.
Bro, I'm not gonna indulge that in this episode. Anyway, I'm behind on House of the Dragon, so
I haven't even started it. So no spoilers in the comments, all of you.
All two of you. I'll tell you to watch both things.
Yeah, guys, no spoilers in the comments. I guess we're getting sort of towards the end. Are we getting towards the end? You're kind of the timekeeper.
I think it's time for
okay.
Maybe
yeah, and so I think that we should end this by I think we should share some of our own hot takes, Goose.
You start, because I don't know.
All right, you want to hear my hot take? I shared this with you.
I don't know that I have
I shared this with you at the beginning of the podcast, and I think this might get some people's panties in a twist. I think that if either Luke or Anakin were female characters, they would be as hated as Rey.
And I disagreed.
If not more so. I think, okay.
But if they came out now, if those movies came out now, or if they were female characters when they were released?
I think if when they were released, I think maybe that, well, actually, I don't know, because I guess like the 70s, like we had like female characters were doing pretty good, right? I think that it probably would have been fine in the original trilogy if it was released at the time it was. I'm not sure if it would have become as big as it did, because just sort of like the implicit like patriarchy, misogyny of everything. But I think especially if Anakin were a girl, I think that he would really, I think they would really hate her.
Fair.
I think that she would be
real hated. If we did the gender swap, it would be like, oh my god, is this Twilight? What's going on?
No, it would be very like, oh my god, like I could see it being very like, oh, like of course Mary Sue allegations immediately, because like, oh, what, like she's the chosen one, like she just has all of this power and she's never wielded a lightsaber before, she's never fought like a real ship before, but she just suddenly
can you really accuse someone
of
being a Mary Sue if they're the chosen one? Doesn't by nature of being the chosen one kind of automatically get rid of?
You'd think.
In my mind, right? So like she's I
guess so. I never really understand the Mary Sue qualifications, because it does feel very like case by case, which I think is a product probably of misogyny. But also because I'm like, yeah, I think for me, Mary Sue's fall into like, okay, well, it's just unbelievable at this point. And actually, Anakin's character, I don't think qualifies as a Mary Sue, even though he is like the chosen one. He's so powerful and he can just do everything, because he is an extremely flawed character emotionally.
And he gets his he gets his ass handed to him by Count Dooku.
Exactly. Yeah, and he also like,
and Obi-Wan, sorry.
He also like just falls to his own desires and stuff. But I do think that especially if Anakin were a female character, it would have been received poorly. And I'm not saying, just so we're all clear, okay? I'm not saying that the reason people didn't like the sequels is just because there was a woman in it, okay? I know that everyone likes to get mad when people say that. I'm just saying I do think that if especially like Anakin were a woman, I don't think people would love him. I don't think people would glaze him as hard as they do.
Look that up. I can imagine. I mean, I'm imagining
like you could guess what it means.
I'm thinking about Krispy Kreme, but in a not at Krispy Kreme.
It's not necessarily like that. We'll talk about it later.
I don't know that I agree, especially like at the time that they came out. I think if at the time that they came out, those that were gender swap, there we go. I think there would have been. I think this whole fascination with hating women. I mean, it's been consistent throughout the history of this country, obviously. But I think that the vitriol with women in films
Hmm.
somehow began like maybe like 15 years ago or some shit.
Yeah, oh, like Gamergate, I think,
It's just
is
like, yeah,
probably a
exactly.
good point at which
It's
to market when
because
it got like really
yeah,
popular.
because like Terminator 2 with Sarah Connor, or the Alien franchise with
No, yeah, that
Sigourney
is fair.
Weaver and
Okay.
stuff like that. I mean, that was a little more I mean, obviously the representation was almost nil, but there was some, and it was
Yeah.
received well, right? So if the original Star Wars had been released with the female lead as Luke instead of Mark Hamill,
Hmm.
I don't think that there would have been a backlash.
Yeah.
Although I think I agree with you that it wouldn't have been as big.
Yeah.
That
And
that
I
that
think
that I can see.
I actually, yeah, okay. I'm with you now. Okay, I'm with you because I do feel like the inceldom and misogyny has cranked up so much in regards to media over the past 15 years, and so actually, let me amend my hot take, which is that I think especially if Anakin were a female character, and because everyone likes to be apologists for the prequels now and say that they were so good and they never hated them, even though I know a lot of you used to hate the prequels and talk
Uh,
about how bad they were.
Correct.
um, I think if they were released today, but Anakin was a female character, I think that there would be a lot of hatred for her. But maybe less so than there is for
And
Rey,
under
because I
Disney, 100%. Yes.
oh, absolutely. But I think maybe less so than there is for Rey because Anakin is allowed to be a lot more flawed, and I think that maybe one of the reasons people um take issue with Rey's character is like she doesn't have enough room to maybe be as flawed, if
Well,
that makes sense. Like she,
maybe not in Rise of Skywalker. But I whatever. I do think, yeah, I do think let's swap it out. Like if
Mhm.
episode 1 and subsequently obviously 2 and 3 had come out during the sequel era with Disney, they would have gotten even more vitriol than they
Mhm.
already did, like at the time. 100%.
Yeah.
I think the
And I think there would
fandom now
also
would have.
be there actually might be more concern too about about male Padme
And
being like, you really have grown.
it's like yeah, actually, let's not swap it. But alternatively, I think that if the sequel trilogy had been released under George in the like 99 and then in the subsequent release order,
Hmm.
I also think that it that would have been hated, but now it would be beloved.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, actually, yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree with that.
I think
Yeah.
this is the pattern that we're doomed to repeat in Star Wars for all the saga films in perpetuity until everyone in this planet dies when the sun goes supernova. And is that a new trilogy will come out, the new people, the older people that watch the old one are gonna hate it and then say that the old one was the best one, and then the new generation is gonna come out that likes it, and it's like we just keep cannibalizing ourselves because we cannot, as a society, learn from the mistakes of our forefathers and just keep perpetuating the trauma and pain that we say we're
Just
not
keep
gonna keep
sending
doing.
death threats to actors, even though they're
Correct.
just actors. They're
It's
just
gonna
doing their job. I never
it's
understand
gonna
that. People are
continue until the
crazy for that.
massive corporate merger between all these studios happen, and there's only one Uber studio, and then Star
And
Trek
it's
is
the
merged with
Wayland
Star
Yutani of
Wars.
studios.
Exactly. And then the reboot of Star Wars was actually the combined universe of Blade Runner, Star Trek, and Star
Oh my
Wars.
god. Oh my god.
And the past of it was Lord of the Rings, because now it's just a multimedia conglomerate that owns all IPs. And then we'll look back fondly and say, like, I wish Disney was doing the sequel trilogy.
Remember when Disney made the sequel? Do you guys remember this? Do you guys remember Rise of Skywalker?
It was so good. I'll be one of those with my canes. It's like,
It was
Pepperidge
Nan's
Farm.
favorite movie.
It was so good. But I think we've had a lot of bad takes, a lot of hot takes, not necessarily bad takes, a lot of hot takes that are simmering. I don't know if they're scorching, but I think we've had some interesting reactions to a lot of them. And I want to reiterate that if I reacted with vitriol to any of them, it wasn't personal. It wasn't personal. I don't know you as a
No,
person. Whoever submitted that, it's not. Sorry, I'm just triggered sometimes by Star Wars, and
that's
that's why
why.
that's why I have this podcast in a way to maybe
Yeah,
alleviate my
this is
trauma.
a public well, it's not a public forum. This is us talking. And you guys are able to comment if you would like, and
That
sometimes
is a
we'll
public
delete the
forum.
comments.
Sometimes I will, exactly. Like,
But I think that one of the things, like we said, actually, this kind of brings us back to the beginning. Star Wars is media, and it's important for us to be able to talk about media, to be critical of media, to be critical of each other's opinions of media.
mhm.
And that's why I think hot takes are fun, right? Because it's
Fun is
like,
important.
yeah, fun is important, and it's at least I have a fun time disagreeing about silly things about space. Like,
I think that's key. Also realizing that it's silly and
it's
that
silly.
it's
At the end
not
of the day, it is silly.
it's not
Like, like
gospel.
someone, like the person who got mad that I was like laughing about
Oh, yeah.
Rats Tyrell's death, and they were like, "What's funny about it?" I was like, "What do you mean? He's a glop shitto named Rats Tyrell."
Whose son made a foundation about the
Yeah, which is
dangers of pod racing.
it's an objectively silly and like Star Wars self-aware thing to do. It's
An
very
absurd
funny.
sentence to say.
It's
Right?
absurd.
Rats Tyrell is not anyone's favorite club shitto. So
Yeah.
let's cool our jets here. It's like when people were up in arms about Mundi in the acolytes. It's like that was never anyone's favorite. No one ever cared. So maybe we relax a little bit.
People were mad that he was in the Acolyte.
Yes, because the timeline, because it was in canon, it's never established how old he is, but in the expanded universe, it was established that blah blah blah. And it's like, shut up, maybe shut up, maybe go wish your mom a happy birthday instead of wondering
Call your
why.
mom.
Call your mom, apologize for being mean to her a month ago instead of worrying about Mundi's fucking birthday. No one cares. It's Mundi. He's historically wrong about everything. So, anyway, thank you, Nat, for taking up the hard job of finding
Yeah,
a
thank you for
topic
humoring me.
to discuss. Yes. I mean, any time that I get to do less, it's a welcome. It's a welcome thing.
Yeah,
So,
guys, drop some appreciation for Goose in the comments. And you guys may not know this, but Goose is pretty much who keeps the lights on around here. He does almost everything.
No. I mean, I do, but there's no reason. There's no reason to let anyone else know that. Thank you, though. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. I
Goose
appreciate
appreciation.
as what am I? A straight male that needs validation? Come on.
No,
You're gonna
but you're my
reduce me?
friend, Goose.
Are you gonna reduce me to a cliche?
Yeah, guys, I have to compliment Goose every episode, otherwise he gets cranky.
Just kidding. I mean,
I mean,
not far from the truth. I do check our Apple Podcast ratings and reviews for new ones. So that's a good seg to say, like, hey, if you're listening and you've liked this, maybe validate me and the rest of my co-hosts for the project that we're doing here on Trial of the Force by heading to Apple Podcasts, if you have an Apple device, obviously, and going down and scrolling to the end, put a 5-star review. And actually, you know what helps more? You say something. You say, like, hey,
yeah.
that was really fun, because, people read that, and it definitely helps. If you're listening on Spotify, maybe you follow and also leave a 5-star review. And if you're on YouTube,
Comment.
you comment.
I want to hear your guys' hot takes. I want to hear your guys' hot takes, not only about what we said, but do you have a shameful secret take that you've been stewing on? Nothing like the one about how aliens are people of color. If we see any of that, you're gonna get blocked.
It's gonna get deleted. It's gonna get deleted. But you can make it anon.
We don't want any rotten
anon.
milk takes. Yeah, but we want to see your hot takes, right? Because again, the world is full of Han shot first hot takes. We want to hear your real C-3PO is more annoying than Jar Jar hot takes, right? We want to hear that. And also, as we say, as Goose said, like, comment, subscribe. It doesn't cost you guys any money.
It
and
doesn't.
It really,
doesn't.
it does the world for us. It's like
Yes.
giving us a little tip, right? That you got to hang out and hear us yap.
It's a little shot of serotonin. It's,
yeah.
Every time there's a
Goes
one
a
follow,
long way.
every time there's one follow, I'm like, hey, there it is. There's my validation to keep waking up in the morning.
And we appreciate you guys so much. All of you, if you're a first-time listener, if you're a many-time listener, if you're even just someone who is vaguely annoyed by us but still listening nonetheless.
You can please continue to hate listen, but don't leave a review. But don't leave a review.
Don't be mean.
You're the one that we don't want the review from, but continue hate listening. But yeah, thank you, Nad, for joining me on this wondrous day.
Thank you guys for joining me too.
On this wondrous day, and we talked about some interesting stuff. But yeah, for everyone else, thank you for joining us. Thank you for doing all the call to actions that we just listed. I know it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I know that you all have done it now. So thank you.
So continue doing it. Keep making new accounts to continue doing it. Because
make sock puppet accounts.
That's how exactly. That's how you go to heaven. But with that, thank you so much. We have been Trial of the Force.
Guys. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.